So here we would start. I would say that as far as living in the UK is concerned or in the West is concerned, I'm sure all of you who have grown up here or have lived here for a long time do face challenges. And these challenges, of course, relate to your own identity. They relate to your own integration with the society, and they also relate to some of the challenges that you might be facing from your own parents, because most of the parents that have come here later in their age, they are from a Desi background and they have a different upbringing and a different, I would say, point of view and the view of life and the way they have been brought up. Another thing that has come into play is the fact that when you live as a minority, you have this fear of the majority, and this self-preservation of makes you do certain things. For example, it makes you isolate yourself from some of the things that you might think are not correct. And there are other instances in which you might yourself face a lot of hate or bullying from the society itself. So the question is that living in the West, what are the challenges that we Muslims especially need to understand? I think the first and foremost thing that we should start off with is that as far as a religion is concerned, especially the Abrahamic religions, of course, you know a lot of Christians live in this country. Primarily, it's a Christian country. They are believers and they are non-believers. But one thing that you can start off with, and one thing which can really make matters set the right pace, is that you have to understand that religion, as far as the Quran is concerned, we are told that right from Adam to Muhammad, the same religion was brought by all the prophets. So the Quran is the final edition of that religion. It's not the first edition. You should not start off with the Quran. You should end with the Quran. And before the Quran, of course, we have the previous scriptures, the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Psalms, and all of them are books that we ought to believe in. So we are required to believe in these previous books. And what do you think, that should we believe in the books of God without studying them, without understanding them? Of course not. So I think the starting point of living in a society where you are living as a minority, where you're living in a multicultural society, is to also understand that just as the Quran might be dear to you, the previous scriptures which are upheld by the society, they are dear to them. But then there is this very silver lining to this dark cloud, and that is that all the previous scriptures, we own those scriptures, and a lot of work has been done on those scriptures, in which you'll realize that you study those scriptures or selections of those scriptures, they are in line with the teachings of the Quran. So I think the starting point could be that besides studying the Quran yourself, besides understanding the Quran yourself, the second important thing is that you study the previous scriptures, the Bible, side by side. And of course, this could also break the ice between you and your non-Muslim friends or neighbors or colleagues by telling them that, okay, let's start off with the joint study scripture sessions in which we can study the Quran and we can study the Bible together. After all, a greater part of the Bible is in conformity with the Quran. I've been teaching the Bible for several years, and I can say out of my own experience that you'll find a very large part of the Bible in consonance with the Quran. And this actually sets the pace, it sets the background between you and the culture that you are living in. That as far as Muslims are concerned, as far as being Muslims are concerned, you have to realize that this is something which is part of a larger tradition, the Abrahamic tradition. And when you stem from the Abrahamic tradition, you feel that you're part of that tradition in a more congenial way. The second thing that is important in this regard is to understand the potential that all of you have as human beings. I mean, every single person has been given some ability, some quality, some outstanding talent that he or she has. And mostly that talent is in its seed form. So just as when you water a seed, you put manure in the seed, or you make it face sunlight in the proper way, that small seed, it grows into a huge tree. And I think that are the talents and the potentials that all of you have, and every single human being has, they are in that seed form. So if you polish those talents, if you discover those talents at the right time, and then you polish them, they are bound to give you shade just as a huge tree would give you once you properly nourish it. So the second important thing is that it's never too late, whatever your age, whatever your situation is, start this process of self-discovery. This self-discovery means that you discover who you are from inside. What are your talents? How can you connect with the society through those talents? You must have heard about Socrates. His famous adage is, know thyself. So know thyself is the message that we all should get. And that is, in this regard, as far as our inner talents are concerned, they are God's gifts to us. And if we just work on those talents, we can really contribute in the society that we live in. And most importantly, if you can polish those talents and set an objective in life which is in line with those talents, that will take you much higher in life, and you'll realize that you can really be part of the society, you can contribute to the society, and also understand at the same time that as far as people are concerned, you don't have to be an Einstein, you don't have to be a Kant, you don't have to be a Socrates to be someone who can contribute to the society. In your own way, you can really be someone, and that someone will be a person who can achieve his objective or her objective by being focused on the target, by being focused on the objective. Or I can also take a step ahead and say that if you set yourself a mission in life, and that mission should be in consonance with the talent that you have, with the inner potential that you have. And if you do that, you can see that it can really work wonders. Einstein himself is reported to have said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, meaning that it's just that few percent that you have from God. The rest is your own hard work. So if you polish that hard work, your talent to that hard work, you can really grow and make other people grow. And the third thing that I'd like to point out here is that, you see, one of the things which the Quran has taught us, and what we perhaps as Muslims especially have forgotten, is that we are part of a big human family. So the Quran tells us that inna khalaqnakum min zakarin wa unsa wa ja'alnakum shu'uban wa qabaila lita'arafu, which means that mankind has been created from Adam and Eve. The progenitors of humankind are Adam and Eve, and from that single parent stems the whole human family, which in other words means that we are part of this huge family that is found in the globe. So we are not just citizens of our own country, we are citizens of the globe as such. And which in other words means that we should feel for other people the way we should feel for our own family. So this bond of humanity, this lies at the base of everything. So if I can say that it is the first connection that we have with other people, I think this is what the Quran is telling us, that before you even think of other things, our basic connection with other people is this bond of humanity. And this bond of humanity, you can clearly see it has so much in common for all of us. Because as human beings, the values that we share, simplicity, kindness, sympathy, selflessness, these are shared by every human being. It's not just Muslims maybe, or it's not just people who are religious who share these values. These values are human values, and even people who don't believe in God, even people who are Gnostics or atheists, they too uphold these values. So I think another important area to realize this is that as far as humanity is concerned, as far as humankind is concerned, we should not regard ourselves to be superior to others, because it is here that the problem sets in. In other words, we must not judge other people and must not judge them through their dress, through their religion, the way they speak, the way they walk, the way they talk, because this is God's domain. I mean, God has to judge people. It's not our domain to judge people, because we don't have sufficient data to judge people. Yes, because we are very fond of judging, and because we cannot give up this habit of judging, I think if you have to judge anyone, let it be your own self, because we know who we are, and judgment is best given in the case where you have sufficient data. And I think we have sufficient data about ourselves. So concentrating more on our own flaws, concentrating more on our own shortcomings, and thinking that what I can do for others instead of thinking what others are doing for us, this is I would say, the right approach. It creates that spirit and aura of positivity. It makes you realize that yes, I can do something for others, and I'm going to do something for others. So Thinking about your own self and, of course, developing your own self is a good thing. But even better is to realize that you are part of a family, you're part of a global humanity, and as such, you must contribute to the society that you are living in. But this can only happen if you think that that humanity or that level of humanity that has been taught by religion is something which stands at the base of all religions. So I can also sum up this by saying that unless you're a good human being, you cannot be a good Muslim. Unless you're a good human being, you cannot be a good Christian or a follower of any other faith. Because at the base of every faith lies this human element. It is this human element that has to be understood. And besides this human element, I would say there are a few other things which are attached to it. The other most important thing which is attached to it is this conscience that all of us have. We are born with a conscience, and that conscience never lies unless it has been lulled to sleep. Conscience is a vibrant conscience will always tell you what right and wrong are. And if we lead a life in the light of that conscience, then of course it would be something in common with the rest of humankind as well. Because just as those human attributes are common to all, conscience is also something which is found in every human being. So that also is another connection that you can have vis-a-vis that inner power that you have. And the third thing in this regard, again, which connects you to other human beings, is something which is also common to every human being, and that is intellect or akal, as the Quran calls it. So the religious scriptures, like the Quran is concerned, of course, the Bible is concerned, you'll find that they address your mind, they address the faculty of your mind. They would reason out if they would like you to believe something. For example, if they ask you to do something or stop from something, they always give a reason for that. There's a wisdom behind that. And I think the best way to understand scriptures, especially the religion that we follow, which is the religion of Islam, is that we must understand religion on the basis of reasoning and not on the basis of emotions. Because reasoning is something which will always make us realize that we have a very, very strong living relationship with the directive that we are being asked to do. Let me give you an example. The prayer. Now, all of us, we are required to pray, and we are our parents are extremely passionate that our children should start praying as soon as they reach adolescence. And at times, we, as young adults, as adults, we do realize that yes, prayer is something that we should offer, but sometimes we are not very regular. Sometimes the habit has not even begun. So, one of the things that can make that prayer or our prayer very interesting is to realize that why should we pray? Why at all has religion asked us to pray? Again, the same thing which I just said, that whenever you want to follow your religion, always ask yourself, if I'm doing something, then I must know the reason